In the recent years, I was trying to help out a lot. People in my circle or just close members as my mom and other people. I was in a position where I thought that I might have a solution. I wanted to start adapting or helping these people in my environment to like start be able to see things more clearly, start to be free of their topics which torn them down and made them feel bad, or old patterns that were always not very much those that actually attract positive change and intrinsic development. But I missed out on a very crucial point when trying to help others, which is the experience I haven't made because I ain't living their life. I'm living my own. And in that life I am living, I have to find ways to get on living the best way I can for myself first. And I could never help others when I'm not helping myself. But I didn't want to understand that at an earlier stage, I would say like 4 to 5 years back, it was the peak of seeing myself trying to help others, trying to impact people with the thoughts I'm having in the most positive way, which would actually lead to change. Because I saw that there is a certain power within the success of seeing someone else be happier because of your help. It's an indescribable feeling. No other success can be measured with the success you get when you actually see results of the help you tried to give on someone else. And I saw that quite early, and I wanted to move deeper, understand more, and really help. But what I didn't see was that I was quite in pain as well. I felt it for sure. I was numbing it back then, much with drugs and not facing actual problems and always suppressing certain feelings regarding a specific traumatic experience I was having. But I found a way to live like quite cleansed with it. But I didn't feel good for sure. I thought that I'm at a stage where I'll move ahead of it and just until then will just live on like I'm doing now. But that wasn't quite the case. But for for my good sake, I was also trying to find positive change and clarity for myself within the openness and the the helping pursuit for others. And it and you may think that it's not the right thing to do to try opening up your hands to others, to try make them feel better when the next moment you're being faced with your own struggles and one might not recognize. or see this as a positive thing, but it let me grow myself as well. Because I got to see that I was actually quite ahead of some struggles others were having, and it was not the thing where I felt I'm surpassing them and that I'm lucky for that. No, it more felt like that the clarity I'm trying to work for and the openness for solutions that I want to attract for myself are already in a stage where I can like see how much easier certain problems are for me when compared to other close friends. And that's a moment where it felt like I could just give and won't have to come up with too many energies from myself, because it's such an ease for me, as it's been clear for quite a time and already been like sunken down and already very much be in a manifested stage where I moved past these previous struggles I was seeing in people around me. But this whole concept of helping someone else doesn't end in a simple talk. It's only starting there. And when you see the person struggling, when you start to come up with more and more insights and start to question deeper, and you're slowly but steadily understanding that root cause more and more, you're still not able to like see clearly, because you likely will never be in the position where you just snap with your fingers and see the root cause in someone else's struggle, as there's so much more behind a person that is giving you information about their lives, and you just can't be sure. But you can try to put out the words or thoughts you're having in that specific regard, to see if something there for them in your pursuit. And I was doing that very actively, because I saw that there's so much energy being pulled out of that thing. When actually the the energy that's coming out of it is being retrieved by how the other person like takes it up. Because when you try to help or try to like, it doesn't even need to be actual help. It can just be a conversation with a good friend, where you talk about your thoughts in a very raw and direct, but in a way that's meant for their best, that can actually display so much help in them. So whenever I try to get deeper, open up more about a certain person's life, about their backgrounds, the next steps were determined by how far they want to take it with it. Because I saw people being conscious about their struggles, about their problems they're facing in their lives, but actually not doing anything about it. Always tapping back into these patterns, even though they they've gone some steps. And I'm not trying to display this as something that can be bypassed so easily. That is a very hard thing to be able to move out of once you're in it so deeply, where you're manipulating and sabotaging on yourself so frequently because you're finding ways in yourself to attract that negative space because you've tapped into it so many times, and all of a sudden you start to like want to feel that pain. I've seen that for myself, but having a person around you that's actually outlining a perspective that can be worked on, and where you can lay back, maybe it's just such a big and crucial factor for you to be brave enough, when you open up enough, when you showcase enough, when you just put out what's lying in there, what would otherwise be like suppressed and like not actually being able to get developed. Then how should that development even work? And some people take that very far. They even try to help themselves and open themselves up on other people, but still find ways to manipulate themselves. And I don't want to go too deep into that, because that is like quite a thing that I'm still surprised that it's a big it's even a thing, because yeah, things get quite complex from there on. But that was not the actual topic I wanted to get into for today. It was more like how my experience of helping others turned out at some points in life. Because when I helped more, when I started to get energy from that progress someone else is making, as I've seen that some of them were willing to, because that was a quite a crucial factor if I would even go on with doing that, because I don't want to be the annoying guy always trying to like force you to learn something about yourself. If you want to, because you feel bad about your life or certain things, yeah, then come up, let's talk, let's get it out, and let's see how you're feeling afterwards. But if not, and this is starting to to get on your nerves, then oh no, I'll certainly stop. So having seen people that actually wanted to develop themselves and appreciate the kind of growth they could get when delving into such realms that open in oneself up once you just commit of living who you are and actually expressing, and start to not always suppress these feelings. I saw them changing. I saw something happening in them. And that was so energetically loading for me as well. Even though I was struggling so hard, I was deep into drugs back then, but I saw still so much progress they were doing. And it felt so fulfilling. I can't describe the feeling of someone being in the position of appreciating what you do for them. Just being there and actually telling you, I thank you for your words. I thank you for what you do. That gave me so much energy. And I think it also was a good kind of amount of that went into the reason why I was able to make many changes about myself as well, because I saw I'm not wrong doing it. And you're never not in the position of opening your thoughts up. No matter how bad you're feeling, you can always try to talk with your friend in a direct way, because you mean it best for them, and they should hear the truth. They should hear your thoughts. And no matter how bad you might be feeling about yourself at the moment, because you struggle with other topics, you get to see what's right because someone else actually says that you are helping them in some sort of way. And when you see that the thought processes of the ones you adapted on your friend were right, and they are growing, they're going into a new kind of direction that's actually good for them, and you see them grow, you can take things from that as well. You can start to adapt some of these factors when broken down onto your own life. So there's so much value in just looking at how the people around you develop themselves through the conversations you're doing with them. No matter in which positioning you are, you just have to be brave enough and get your word out there, because thoughts are always like concluded in yourself when being around with some other person, because we are in a communicating state when being around others. So these thoughts can be shared, they can be exchanged, and that exchange happens no matter how the person's gonna end out, no matter where the person's gonna be in the next year. You're gonna get something back from it. And if it's not the appreciation from the person, because maybe the person is not even seeing what you're doing, what you're impacting them with, you can see how they are moving. And maybe you aren't that big of a reason at all that they are moving into that direction. But you can always see some kind of hint where, when reminding yourself what you were trying to give them and what you were trying to tell them and what you actually like expressed to them, because you're seeing in their eyes, in how they take it up, what is going on in them. And you'll see in the next meetings how they are still standing towards the topic. And when there's a change, just look at it and see for yourself what might be in it for you or from you. So that was like quite an energetic force and thing that brought me so far within myself, because I just then started to understand, I can just be around with people who are having struggles as I do in a different kind of way, and we can exchange thoughts on life as we are just open enough to get these deep lying thoughts out there, so that we can maybe like take out things from the other person's words or just from the other person's actions as we move on. But not always does it come to a point where the person next to you is actually able and willing to do that kind of development, that kind of change, and will stay stuck, will just like stay in their zone and in their misery, knowingly or unknowingly. It doesn't matter. But when seeing something occur like that, and you come up with much energy because things get quite clear for you that certain impacts for the other person is bad, and you are just trying to make it clear for them as well, but they are not getting to the point where it concludes within themselves that they actually have to take responsibility of their own lives and do movements. There's a certain point where everything just shifts and you'll get drained these energies then. These you initially came up within an unconditional exchange, which came from your heart, which weren't quite draining at that point, are all of the sudden being switched around and being like thrown at you, and you gotta pick up every little piece. And that is a very dangerous moment to enter, because I've seen that so many times happening, and it's so frustrating to like not see progress, but see someone else just being in pain so hard, when they would actually just need to make moves. And it's not that easy. I don't want to say that, but at some point you just know and feel that certain movements are not being made, and they just want to stay at that stage where they are, because they want that pain from themselves to keep them up and in that traumatized level. And that's the point where your responsibility also like should leave the room at the latest stage. It wasn't ever there. You weren't ever responsible for to take over certain thoughts or uh, like decisions for your close friends, for your family. No matter who it is, everyone is responsible for themselves. But we have responsibility for our children, and when we see things in our childhood that are not good, and we take things by us for our life, and someone else then suddenly comes and tries to help you, and you're not willing to understand or reflect on your past, then there has to be a point made where that person that's trying to just get something meaningful into you so you can develop yourself ahead, has to take a step back. And sometimes it has to be a big one. Maybe sometimes so big that you're actually starting to distance yourself completely and break the contact. But if not gone so far, maybe just distancing from that specific area of an exchange with that person, where you see that the things you're trying to tell them are not helping them out, because they are not actually realizing what they might do about their lives. And when you're not trying to pressurize on them, because that is like also very much the wrong direction, because they have to feel it for themselves, very deeply rooted in them, then, and even with an like easy exchange you're coming up with, people are still in their in their state of mind being stuck, then still coming up with thoughts that, or meanings that could have that could help them, can be quite daunting. So when I was in that kind of position, seeing that someone around me, someone very close around me, wasn't quite in the stage yet where they are they're ready to make moves, to to move ahead from their past, from their lives. When I saw that at my mom, and how she was like actually living all these negative aspects about her childhood, about her past experiences with other men, I was very upset seeing her being drained for years. And it's even harder when you actually really love someone around you so much, and you just want the best for them, and you see them being like completely crushed and slowed down to such a level where you see no progress in their lives whatsoever. And that is that is an harsh reality to be in. Because when you are so convinced that these changes, when they be implemented in a great in a specific way, would do so good for them, and they just don't do it because they don't take over the responsibility to move ahead from their past, uh, then yeah, it's a point where you have to find an balanced way of keeping up that connection, or as I said, distancing. And I distancing was never an option for me. It certainly has been in times with other people for sure, but you don't want to distance yourself from your parents as they're in a close state of mind. And I don't say that for everyone. There are parents out there that are horrible for people, and when the contact would be kept up, things would go in the very wrong direction for the people that would actually want to grow themselves. I'm not saying that this is like, yeah, must be, you gotta be close to your parents. No, you're a free kind of person, and when your parents fuck up hard, it's also in your choice to take the distance you want to. But I was always trying to find a way because my parents meant it the best way, and there were things that were happening and that weren't quite good and impacted on me, but they did their best as they could. And not seeing my mom develop herself was very harsh. So I was always trying to help. I was sitting next to her for hours, talking to her about her life, understanding her past, understanding her patterns, understanding her whole psyche, trying to find like these empty spots that she was missing out, and actually find practical approaches how she could make it easier. I was trying to come up with pictorial kind of uh, like things so she can hold on to these metaphors in a way, and she actually made it seem so clear for me that she'll do the change. But once we were ahead of time, I started to see that she isn't, and that she's just not at that stage yet. And things are getting quite hard when there's a dependency on a person's growth in the regard to someone with someone else. When there's someone else impacting your, or like limiting your growth because the impact is in a comes back to you in a manipulative way, then how should another person, in that case, and teenage your teenage son, be able to help you out of that when someone elderly is manipulating on your mom? So I don't I wasn't in the position to like wrap my head around the solution in that regard. I couldn't see any possible way so that she'll get ahead of him and just pass him by. And years have passed, over 10 years, where she's just like in this on off, not even relationship, because he's just miserable partner to have, and not even there, and always trying to pick on her and try to see the negative kind of things and like project them on her so she'll feel bad about her decisions. And yeah, every little thing that that's that can be seen in a negative way was getting thrown at her. So it's a very toxic relationship. But yeah, it wasn't my responsibility either. And I but I still didn't feel good about knowing that that is actual reality, knowing that my mom is likely to be just, yeah, just living on like that. And when she's getting older and older, he'll never be there for her. He'll certainly pass away before her maybe, and until then she had never someone around her. I was I could have actually seen her around her, and I want the best for her. I want that she gets the love she deserves and the closeness and like being being accepted on an emotional way, and not only being like the talking head for him about whatever kind of topic. So when you want something so bad for someone so close, in that case my mom, it's so hard to like take it. But I've started to get find a way after years and years of trying. I found a way where I was able to get clear with that kind of topic and just say, okay, I'm accepting it. I will not try again. And I was actively saying her, when it comes to him and some kind of struggles you're having with him, I just don't want to hear no more. Because why should I listen to that bullshit anyway? I was I never thought that this would be like uh, had a good end. I had it I had it in my feelings 10 years back when I was yeah, when I was 12, and I started to realize so much more along the time, and some somehow things never happened, never changed, and I never saw things happening. He said, and I was seeing very many red flags. So when that distance from myself regarding the topic got like actually executed on a greater level, I also somehow lost some sort of connection to her. And that is quite a sure thing that's gonna happen whenever you are starting to take a step back, because you are moving further when someone else stopped. And maybe they develop or grow for themselves, even though you moved away from trying to come up with solutions for them, but you still seen so hard that it's not the it's not energetically worth it for yourself to come up with these energies, and some sort of distancing point will then change your friendship or relationship to that kind of person in a very big way, because all of a sudden you start to come up with a different kind of stage you're talking to with the person. Because when you don't go that deep no more, when these deep in inner lying problematics and struggles are all of a sudden being like passed in a conversation, how you're staying on that surface level, and you also don't want to go too deep about your feelings as well, because well, why should you feel open enough to do that when the other person's wasn't ready to do their steps, and you see them in that stage still. When these things are so clear for you, you somehow start to close yourself in it again. But I never gave up, especially with people so close, just as my mom. I never gave up to try to find a way how she can actually move ahead of this. And I was saying so often that, yeah, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's get rid of him forever, let's just do it. And she just never did it. And today I was at my grandma, as every week we were eating for lunch, and she was starting to talk about him as well. And mostly she cuts off the topic quite fast, because she knows that even grandma doesn't want to hear no more. So she just gets to the next thing, but stays surely on the surface. And when when she started to talk about that kind of thing today, I somehow wanted to come up with the energy again. I wanted to come up with some sort of solution. I wanted to give it one more try. And I started to get deeper. And I started to try and find a way how she can take further steps. And what I was seeing, or the reason I think why I came up with that energy in the first place to actually get her moving, was because she had a recent connection with a guy that at first seemed quite very much the person that she would need to live and fulfill life, but then very fast started to seem like someone that's in a similar pattern than the other guy. And when I started to hear what she was saying about that guy today, because she was meeting him yesterday, and how that experience impacted her, and with which kind of personality traits he started to come up, and that he was sorry for some situations that happened a few weeks back. I saw sparks in her eyes, but I also saw so much drought, and like so much closeness for even to have such an opportunity, to have such luck, to have such a person around her that's actually doing good. And I went deeper and deeper and tried to understand it more. And what concluded out of that is that I wanted to come up with help to make it easier for her to actually pass that old guy that has been in her life, not in an how you would imagine kind of relationship, because he's never there. They don't live together. He got his house, she got her flat. He's never there. She never goes to him's place. So, yeah, I just want him to leave her alone forever, and I'll stand straight for that one more time, the very last time, because now I want to feel what it can bring her when there is the help she might need. And when this executed thing is working out and he's gone and I was part of it, because I'll certainly ring his phone and tell him when she's not doing it on her own that he should piss off. Then I'll feel good. I'll get that feeling from years back then again. And I'll be able to know that I did great impact and I tried to help, because I see that she wants to, but she's just so deep down in a certain manipulative stage where he's like always playing on her in certain ways, that she got a very hard time to do these steps on her own, and no other psychotherapist or anyone could make these decisions for her, and so couldn't I, and so can't I can't do decisions for my mom when it's her responsibility. But I see and I know so clearly that this has to end now, and I'll stand straight for that. And that's the thing I'll I will need to hear tonight, because she has to block him, and I'll hear that tonight. I'll want her to call me and tell me that, because I said her that she gonna do that. So I hope that she'll do it. And that she's not taking away my energies by going back into old patterns. Because that help that's coming from me now, it's like the very last time I'll ever going to come up with help in that regard, because I've seen it so many times and I know that this is not the right way to go. But she'll have to do that step. She'll have to go it. I'm here for help, but she will have to do it. So that's an insight for like a very big topic that took up my life, that whole helping approach. Yeah, maybe you can see some parallels to your experiences and take something from it. I very much enjoyed it today. I felt very clear about my thoughts. I see that the good sleep or more sleep, no caffeine, is doing its great job. Oh my god, I can sleep. And I'll certainly be clearer then, and just be able to talk in a better way and feel more confident about what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be here in a new space. And now I got a meeting that's gonna happen in 8 minutes, and I'll need 4 minutes to get home. So I'm going to cut it here, because I'll be late, and I want to take that meeting because I want to get my app done soon. So yeah, thank you for being here. Blessings.